I'm Laura Geis. Welcome back to week 15 in the God Success Secrets video series. This week's success secret says your tongue determines your destiny. I have a story for you about how two different tongues determined two different destinies in a restaurant one night. Quite a few years ago, when my children were still very young, and if you don't know, I have 6 children, my husband and I were invited out to dinner to a really nice restaurant. Now this was a special treat for us because with 6 little kids at home, we didn't go out to eat very often. So I was really looking forward to this dinner. I planned out what I was going to wear, and I was thinking about what I was going to order on the menu. I was really looking forward to this evening out. So we arrived at the restaurant, and the couple we were with, they started complaining the minute we entered the restaurant. We had to wait too long to get seated. This takes such a long time. We could go to a fast food restaurant and get faster service. Well, of course you can get faster service at a fast food restaurant. We were supposed to be dining. So we were seated at our table. We placed our orders, and the waitress, she was a little slow that night, but it didn't bother me a bit. I was out with my husband and some friends having a nice meal. I wasn't in any hurry, so I was just enjoying the conversation and the food and the atmosphere. But this couple complained throughout the whole meal. The food was too hot or too cold or too spicy or too bland. Whatever it was, they found something to complain about. And I was just happy that I wasn't having to fix a meal at home. So I always say, if I don't have to cook it, it tastes great. So I was having a great time. So in that instance, our two tongues determined two destinies. I'm sure the other couple went home and talked about what an awful evening they had and how horrible the service was at the restaurant, whereas my husband and I couldn't talk enough about what a nice time we had because it was just a pleasure for us to get to go out to eat. So sometimes our tongues determine our destinies. Now, as I'm taping this video, it's March, and it's March Madness time around the college campuses. The big basketball tournament is going on, and I have a couple boys who like to watch the March Madness tournament. And I've noticed that before the game, the coaches always get with their players and give them the pep talk, right? And sometimes we wonder, what's the coach saying during these pep talks? And then at halftime, the guys go in the locker room again and have another talk with the coach. Now, can you imagine some of the things these coaches are telling their players as they're giving these pep talks? I'm sure it's not, boy, you guys are playing awful. We're never going to win this game. No, they're feeding them lots of positive affirmations, and we can do this, and giving them some strategies for their game, and we're a little weak here, but if we do this, it should improve it. And you can look on the internet for some famous pep talks that coaches have given. And like I've said before, I live in the Hoosier state. In the movie Hoosiers, we get to hear some of the pep talks the coach gave the championship team in Milan. So our talk has so much to do with what kind of life we have. We are determining our lives by our talk. And you know, way back in Genesis, when God created the world, how did He create the world? He created it by speaking. He said, "Let there be light." He said, "Let there be light." And there was light. So He just spoke it into existence. And when we speak words, we are speaking our lives. We are speaking our future. So we need to be very careful about the words we use when we're talking about our futures. Now let's see an example of this from the Bible. What is one of the most popular Bible stories with people of all ages, probably especially children? Anybody have an idea? What if I give you this hint? I have my handy slingshot with me. Yeah, I'm talking about the story of David and Goliath. So, pretty famous story. We know the tale. Little shepherd boy David is going to fight the great big giant Goliath. But what's really interesting is if you look at the passage in the Bible where it talks about David and Goliath, and you pay attention to the words that David speaks before he fights this giant. In a sense, David is giving himself a huge pep talk. Let me just read you a little bit of what he says. He says, "You come against me with the sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." And we know how the battle ends, right? David does cut off Goliath's head, and the Philistines are defeated. So when David spoke those words, he was speaking his future. Our verse for today is from Proverbs 12:14, and it says, "From the fruit of his lips a man is filled with good things, as surely as the work of his hands rewards him." So our lips, the words we use, can fill us with good things. So if you want good things to come into your life, if you want good things to happen to you, you need to start speaking good things over your life and cut out some of that negative talk. So what kind of life are you creating with your words? Now I want to look at two questions that people are commonly asked, probably on a daily basis, and I want us today in our journals to come up with a good answer, a good positive answer to these two questions so that we can use our words to start creating a better life. And the first question is, how are you? When you meet someone for the first time or you bump into someone at the grocery store or at work, one of the first questions they ask is, how are you today? And so what are the common responses? I'm fine, pretty good, not bad, little tired, busy. Those are the responses we get. Well, what if instead of using one of those responses, you'd say, I'm fantastic, I'm great, this is one of the best days, I'm looking forward to something that's going to happen later on today. If you use something positive like that, you're going to create a better day. And if you keep creating better days, you're going to create a better life. So just by figuring out what can we respond, how are you doing, how can we respond to that, we can build a better life. So in your journal today, write down, what is your response going to be when someone says, how are you doing today? How are you? What can you say? And sometimes, even if you are feeling tired or overwhelmed or a little sick, if you just speak out loud that you're doing great, you'll start to feel better. So, now's not the time for total honesty, I guess. Answer it what you want your day to be like instead of maybe how you're feeling at the moment. What's the second question we're commonly asked? What's going on with you? Like, what's happening in your life lately? How do you answer that question normally? Well, I'm running the kids, busy running the kids everywhere. Oh, work's okay. Dropped off a little bit, but it'll get better. Feeling a little tired lately. Got an appointment at the doctor. You see how when you answer in that way, wow, your life sounds like a bummer. Let's get a little more excited. Let's get a little more positive. Let's let our tongues determine our destinies. So when someone says, what's going on in your life lately? Well, God is doing amazing things in my life. God is working in my life. Listen to this amazing thing that happened to me just the other day. And use something positive. Not only will you give yourself a better day, whoever you're talking to will also have a better day. Back when I was a little girl, one of my heroes was Cowboy Bob. Cowboy Bob was on my local television station early in the morning before school started, and he would introduce different cartoons, and I'd watch the cartoons, and I thought Cowboy Bob was probably the smartest guy in the world. And one thing that Cowboy Bob always said was, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And I think that's good advice for us today. If you can't say something nice or positive or something that will help build a better life for you, then don't say anything at all. I'll see you next time.